Good afternoon and welcome back to Henley Women's Regatta. If you're just joining us, your commentators are Ed and Greg, and we're just waiting now for the start of race number 367, the power rowing single sculls. For those of you that aren't aware, power rowing is split in the UK into three categories: PR1, PR2 and PR3. Here we have two scullers competing from PR3, and that is previously defined as LTA. Means that these scullers have leg, trunk and arm ability, but another disability that entitles them to row in the power events.
So on the Berkshire station here, we've got Ruby Sutherland joining us from Australia, from the Balmain Rowing Club. And Ruby is legally blind. She's got cerebral palsy, but has already held several world records. It's pretty close at the moment, Ed. I keep talking about that little bay that we can see on the left. It really does throw a number of athletes when they come out of the blocks there, because people tend to want to follow the towpath, the bank.
Gives you a real sense of insecurity. Suddenly the boys disappear and the booms appear.
So I need Alice to stay away from the booms. Can she get back on course? Actually, do you know, that is extremely well done. That's not easy to get off once you've got your blade on the other side.
Especially in the single sculls.
So Alice, I know, will be absolutely annoyed with herself for that. And Alice is another great athlete. She recently won at the she rose for Peterborough, and she was the star really at the Olympic Velodrome, where she broke a world record in the 500 metre ergo. And then obviously won the gold in that, and then quickly won a silver for that as well.
So we've seen that despite her crash, the sculler Alice Mason from Peterborough Rowing Club, is coming back on her opponent. We have noticed that in the sculler from Kent School, United States. No, sorry, not from Kent School. From Balmain Rowing Club, Australia, a small earpiece, and that is because she is classified as legally blind, and PR3 entitles her to a radio link with her coach on the back, and enables her to steer a straight line down the course.
As you say, though, Alice has really come back at her, and we know she's a very, very determined athlete.
Just see as they're coming past. Alice actually taken a slight lead over her opposition from Australia. But this is going to be a close race, Greg. It really is.
Yeah, that would have taken a lot out of Alice, just that flirtation with the booms there. She really is a super athlete. Used to play netball. Unfortunately lost her left leg, which meant she couldn't really stay with netball. So she took up rowing, and she's already a member of the Para Development Squad, the GB Para Development Squad. And she's certainly got the 2020 Tokyo Paralympics in her sights.
I mean, if she can run a race like this and come back from a disaster like that, she definitely deserves to be on that start line in Tokyo. Look at this, already coming back from what for many crews would have set them up for disaster. As we see with many crews, the booms can spell the end of the day, but not for
Well,
Alice.
she's certainly keeping a very close eye on it now. Every 3 or 4 strokes, having a good look over her left shoulder there. You see the power going through the water there. Absolutely. Whoa! Perhaps too much power on that stroke.
Really is fantastic to see these power events here at Henley Women's Regatta. This particular event wasn't run last year, and the last record was set back in 2014 by O'Brien of Tribesman Rowing Club in a time of 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Ruby Sutherland really making a race of this. You can just see she's really taking up her rate, really pulling hard on the blades just to get back into contention. There's so much power being shown there by Alice Mason. Such a determined athlete. She smashed the world 500 meter record by 6 seconds just recently. So, you know, that 500 meters is all about power, and you're just seeing this here right now.
And that power looks to be combined with a very efficient stroke. You can see how powerful her catches are, and that very definitive click out of the water at the end of the stroke that symbolises so many of the most powerful athletes we see on the water.
Well, she's most certainly determined to get into the final, which will be against Georgia Jane Walker of Marlow, just down the river here. What she's just got to do is she's putting so much power down, just got to be wary of the balance as well.
Still looking very calm and composed as we watch the sculler from Peterborough Rowing Club, Alice Mason, crew number 693, just sculled through to what she hopes to be an easy victory so she can save her bacon for later on. Great shot there in the background as well of some of the launches we've got going up and down the Henley stretch today. Of course, so symbolic of the Henley environment is that constant river traffic that adds to the spectators a real atmosphere, but for those in the water, often a bit of unwanted wash.
Well, what we can see, but if you're viewing on at home or you're viewing on the riverbank, what you can't see, we've had the odd shot of Ruby Sutherland, who's sculling really, really well, and you wouldn't really know that there was such a distance between the athletes. Ruby giving it absolutely everything, and I hope she will have enjoyed being here over at Henley, representing her country as well as her club, and doing well. But she's just come up against a more powerful athlete in Alice Mason.
Just see the determination on Alice's face there. Really,
So
really
there we are.
stuff.
There's a shot of some excellent sculling from Ruby.
Fantastic stuff. So that was our first and only heat of this Para Sculls event. These two sculls are racing to determine who'll be racing their opposition from Marlow Rowing Club Walker in the race later today at 3:50. So if you're interested in seeing the result of that and seeing how Alice fares up against the sculler from Marlow, do be sure to tune in then to see how that goes down. Another bit of a break now until we have the next event, which will be the Championship Lightweight Single Sculls. And I think as we go to the start now, you can see the two scullers lining up there. And then as they come out of the blocks there, you can see that classic start from the lightweight scullers. Very, very quick, very powerful, just trying to edge out early on as they come past Temple Island. So as we look down from this drone shot, on the right hand side of your picture we have Macro from Bath University, and on the right hand side, and on the left hand side Pellyman from KRSG.
So this is our first of our finals for the day, and so the excitement really is starting. As Ed says, a classic lightweight starts, winding it up to almost, well, just so quick that it's not like a little bee buzzing away at the start. what we have here is Macro from Bath University. Had the better of the starts over Pellerman, and she's gone out to a length advantage already.
She just seemed to be the quicker bee off the start there, and as they come through the first quarter-mile mark along the Henley stretch, we can just begin to imagine what it's like inside the minds of these two scullers. You really can taste victory at this point as we come towards the end of their time here at Henley Women's Regatta. One of them will take home the silverware, and one of them will leave without. And at the minute, it looks like Macro from Bath University has her eye firmly fixed on that trophy.
Yes, it's Laura Macro's. We just come past the commentary position here. Even for a lightweight scull, you can see the power being put down, the muscle definition of these elite athletes. And Laura keeping up the strike rate there. She's about 3 lengths ahead at the moment over the Belgium. Very comfortable position to be in, particularly in a final.
Definitely wouldn't normally expect to see this much of a gap between our two finalists as they've just gone through the barrier. Macro from Bath just proving at the minute to be the superior athlete as she races to take home the George Ines Cup in this, the final of the Championship Single Sculls here at Henley Women's Regatta 2019. You can just see there Laura Macro from Bath University just stretching out her lead. Such a powerful athlete there. You can see the power really going through, driving into the water, hanging off those blades, as I'm sure her coaches will have said to her many times over the years, levering it through the water. A fantastic backsplash from what is a very, very technically proficient sculler. Both of these scullers, of course, racing right at the top of their game in the top level boats that the boat builders of the world have to offer. Laura Macro there in her Hudson shell, and her opposition from KRSG in a Felipe shell.
So Laura is a great example of someone who's got resilience, because initially at Bath she just failed to get into the GB rowing start program, but just went back to Bath and worked with her coach Dan Harris, and this is a result of all of that hard work.
We'll definitely keep an eye on that race as it unfolds, but it looks like Dan Harris has worked his magic once again on Laura Macro, and we can now flip down to the start of our second final of the day, the Championship Lightweight Coxless Pairs, contested this time between Newcastle University and Tideway Scullers School. The athletes from Tideway this morning said they aimed to paint the waters of Henley red and yellow, but will that dream come to fruition?
So the Newcastle crew, Fiona Chestnut and Phoebe Truitt. Tideway Sculler School, we've got Katie Potter and Kate Wagstaff. And not much in it at the moment, but it looks like Tideway have had the better start and have gone out to about a length advantage as they come to the quarter mile stage.
Tideway, of course, the famous name for anyone that follows rowing here in the UK. International representation every year since 1983. Spent a lot of their time down at Dorney Lake. We have Marlow Regatta today, another one of the big events here in the UK, just honing their skills, and that seems to have paid off here as they lead their opposition from Newcastle University, another titan of UK rowing, as they approach the barrier and us in the commentary caravan.
And certainly Tideway Scullers have really had a good go at trying to finish this race.
You can just see there what it means to Lauren Macro from Bath University, who has won her final of the Championship Lightweight Single Sculls here at Henley 2019.
This, of course, is the hardest boat to steer. That's why they've got the most experienced umpire looking down at them. Fiona's been at Women's Henley and been a great supporter of Women's Henley for many, many years. But she's not had to get involved in this race at all yet. Tideway Scullers just rowing beautifully at the moment. They've now got that over a length advantage, which is so important psychologically.
Newcastle and Tideway both have a massive presence here at Henley Women's Regatta 2019, and no doubt will have a similarly huge presence at Henley in a few weeks' time. But for now, they'll be listening to the wall of sound created by their supporters as they pass through the regatta enclosure. Of course, not allowing that to throw them off their race plan, as Tideway seem to be executing whatever they had up their sleeve perfectly.
And Newcastle had a tough semi-final, just winning by 3/4 of a length over Sydney University, and one wonders if that took a lot out of their legs. Tideway had the slightly easier semi-final. They're beating Cambridge by 1.5 lengths. So I wonder, Ed, if that's a factor here. It's just a beautiful shot there, actually, of the Tideway pair. Again, you'd expect this from a lightweight pair. The rate is quite high. They're able to move up and down the slide that much quicker. Beautiful shot of two excellent athletes.
And I think we should thank the team at Unique Media TV, who are providing some of the fantastic shots we're seeing here that allow us to gain such an insight into the world of professional rowing. You can just see the composure on the faces of these Tideway rowers. Veterans, of course, of the River Thames, albeit down on the busier, more congested parts. And you can see the effect that's had on their technique there. They've had to perfect it to combat some of the large waves and washes you encounter on the Surrey stretch of the river.
So Fiona Dennis is the umpire, as I just said, is one of the UK's most experienced umpires, and has been at Women's Henley ever since it started. In fact, has been in charge of the umpires here for some years. I think she's just given that up.
You can just see, wow, a fantastic shot there of Tideway. That real definition in their stroke there, Greg. You can just see the power they're applying at the start and end of each stroke. I can almost hear it in my ears, that distinctive click of the blades as they turn and they go. It's really, really amazing stuff there.
And again, a great shot of the muscular definition of these athletes.
Something we can only hope for, I imagine.
Bit too late for me now, Ed.
And there we are.
Great race. I mean, they didn't have it all their own way. They took control at the start, but really never really lost Newcastle. So fantastic effort from Newcastle. And the finals keep on coming. And this is Kent School, one of my alma maters. I went there in 1980, long before these girls were even a twinkle in their mum or dad's eyes. But it's lovely for me to have them over here competing at Henley, and here they are in the final of the Junior Coxed Fours, the J16 Junior Coxed Fours. That's Kent School in the blue with a big K, that kind of helps us there. And on the other side it's Marlow Rowing Club A. So one from across the big pond and one crew from just up or down the river. So I'm expecting a really good race here at Kent. Won at Reading last week. We know how quick Marlow have been. We've seen them throughout the season, and they've certainly put their marker down on Kent. They've gone out to a 3/4 of a length lead. coming up to the quarter-mile marker.
Just looks to me there, Marlowe stretched out to an early lead of about 3/4 of length, and to me it just looks like they have that more powerful, that more defined, that more accurate stroke that's allowing them just to break free of what is a very powerful crew from across the pond in the US. Of course, fantastic to see an international final here in the J16 coxed fours at Henley Women's Regatta.
And this is unusual for Kent because since they've been over in Britain, they've never been in this position before. They've always been at the front, and it'd be interesting to see how they cope with this mentally. And you know, the 3 and 4 women there, they won't be able to see, even out of the corner of their eye, they won't be able to see Marlowe. They'll be relying on the cocks, and they're not letting Marlowe get away.
I'm not sure if you can hear that down below us now. An absolute roar for Marlowe as they come past from their coaches on their bikes and many, many supporters on the banks, just spurring them on to find that little bit of extra energy they didn't know they had.
As the umpire's boat goes past, you see Garrison Smith, the Kent coach. He's not allowed to speak or do anything. He's not even allowed to nod his head, which might be trying to communicate with his crew. So he must be feeling. I know he likes to talk, so he must be feeling pretty desperate. I tell you what, Kent are just throwing everything at this, aren't they? They're coming back at Marlowe inch by inch. I think they've come back by about 2 feet.
I think we're over a race here, Greg. Really, it's fantastic.
They put a massive push in, haven't they? And they're almost level.
Cox is very relaxed there on the bow of the Marlowe boat. The quantities and the bows there. What? Oh, Kent School USA creeping up there.
Can't quite see. I think they're absolutely level as they're going past the enclosures.
Could Kent School check this back, or could it be bow ball for bow ball down the corner? Have to wait to see from a drone shot if that's going to appear. If not, from a side-by-side shot.
And this is exactly what you want, isn't it, Ed, from a final? Just side-by-side racing, no one giving a quarter, or no one's breaking physically or mentally. It's going to go down to the wire.
Fantastic to see here for the spectators here at Henley Women's Regatta. Got a couple more hours of racing for you this afternoon. If you're at loose ends in the area at all, come down and catch some of the best racers from across the world compete to take home some of the most prestigious silverware in the country.
And some of that silverware is going to be won here, and at the moment it looks as though it's going to be taken overseas because it's Kent School who were initially down at the start by, well, nearly a length, 3/4 of a length. They've had a big middle of the race, and now about half a length up. And the silverware they're looking for is the West End ARA trophy, and they'll be pretty determined. Garrison Smith, the coach, as I said, who's in the umpire's launch there. I mean, the butterflies will be going around his stomach for sure, but that's tremendous power there in that J. Remember, these athletes they're not senior athletes. They are under 16, J16, so they will be 16 in this academic year.
Great shot to see there, and as we've said so many times before, with rowing, it often accompanies academic excellence, even at the youngest ends of rowing, J16. A lot of these athletes just escaped the rigours of their GCSEs and now here to trial themselves against the rigours of another crew. But it looks like the minute the Kent
Marlowe are
School
putting
USA
in a big push here, Ed. You can just see they've taken the rate up. They're throwing everything at it. All credit to them, and they've come right back at Kent, haven't they? And I think that burst has taken them past.
This could be
absolutely
a real
fantastic. My
there.
goodness, they've just left them. They just took up the rate. They've suddenly taken a length out of Kent.
Wow.
And Kent were, half a length up. What a fantastic race by Marlowe. And from my saying that silverware is going overseas, the girls must have heard that. And I'll tell you what, that was an amazing finish.
You can see what it means there to the girls of Marlowe's school. Smiles, cheers, hugs, the lot. That is absolutely fantastic there. To go off the start, be rowed over by a foreign school, and then to claw it back with that amazingly powerful burst in the last few metres is a real marvel. But the finals and the excitement don't stop there, as we are on to the Aspirational lightweight single sculls, our next final of the day. On the left hand side of your picture, Wedgwood from Surrey University against Slater from Wallingford Rowing Club. This is race 371.
So it's another name check for Fiona Dennis, because actually she puts her name to the trophy that these two athletes are racing for. It's the Fiona Dennis Trophy for Aspirational Lightweight Single Sculls. And straight away there we see that the Surrey University athlete Wedgwood has taken about 2 lengths out of Slater of Wallingford. That's Hannah Slater, who had an excellent semi earlier this morning, but at the moment she's got it all to do against the Surrey University.
And as the umpire's launch goes past us now, we can see a real gap opening up between these two scullers. Wedgwood from Surrey University just leading her opponent out by a good margin now as they pass through the first timing mark at Henley Royal Regatta, the barrier.
So the Wallingford sculler, Helen Slater, under a bit of pressure there. She's got to correct her steering. She's not affecting the Surrey athlete at the moment, so the umpire won't be too bothered, but if she puts in a spurt she'll need to get back onto her own side. But it's certainly the University of Surrey athlete who is dominating this final.
We'd perhaps expect to see these two scullers slightly closer together, especially in a lightweight category, but that just pays testament to the awesome power of Wedgwood from Surrey University. She's gone through this competition looking incredibly strong. Had the privilege to commentate on a couple of her races yesterday, and even there she dominated from the start. She got out and she handled that race, showing her opponent who was boss. Having said that, of course, we've also seen Slater from Wallingford in action this week, and another incredibly talented sculler. And it just comes down on the day to who has more lactate in their blood, who's more tired, and who has more energy to give.
Well, certainly Helen Slater's had the perhaps the tougher of the semi-finals. Just a length lead over there, and a length means you've had to fight all the way down. So she's had that race, was earlier on at earlier this morning, and whereas the Surrey University athlete had a 3 lengths win, and maybe, as you say, Ned, there's just been a little bit more taken out of Helen Slater's legs there. Certainly her steering is a little wayward at the moment. Not using all of the river yet, are they?
No. That is what makes Henley so exciting, though, is that clubs can have 2, have even heard of a club having 3 races in one day, and that leads to this really difficult situation of how hard you push to ensure that you secure a victory, but at the same time you are able to use the energy that you conserved from your last race as you progress through into the next round of your chosen event.
I don't know if Wedgwood is just taking the power off, but she's got that 3 lengths advantage and is just sitting back on that. I think she's just been told to get to move over a little bit, actually, by the umpire. But Helen Slater from Wallingford, just up the river, she's given it a really good go.
We will continue to keep an eye on that race as it unfolds, but for the moment we shall flick down to our next final of the day,
which is one of those old battles, Ed. Headington against Henley.
It definitely is. The 2 titans of junior rowing. These 2 crews both competed at Schools Head of the River this year, placing a 1-2 with Headington at the win, I believe, and Henley coming second. Don't quote me on that.
But as we see, it's Henley being a bit naughty, being told to get back on station, and it looks as though they've had the better of the starts. They've gone out to about a length there.
These really are my favourite boat classes to watch here, Greg. They just look so good when they're going, and when they're going this well, the speed that these athletes can produce.
So that Headington squad of Anna Mattox, Isabel McGee, Eleanor Giles and Katie Jeans, they've really got to up their game now if they're going to get closer to Henley. Darcy Smith, Della Luke, and there's no doubt that where that Luke comes from, it's certainly got some great rowing genes there. Isabel Cotton and Holly Cookson, and they've gone out now to a length lead, just gone past that quarter-mile stage, looking very comfortable. I said earlier today, and I know the Headington girls work incredibly hard. If you follow their coach on Twitter, you can often see the work that they're being put through. But as I live fairly close to Henley, you know, coming through the dark nights, dark winter nights, you see these Henley athletes out running with their high-vis vests on almost every night. Their winter training is so hard, and this is why. This is the reward they get for that. They come to this world-class event, they get to the final, and they've put themselves into a position here where they're a length ahead of the old enemy Headington.
I imagine we'll see some of these athletes later on in their lives competing at international level. Both of these schools are breeding ground for fantastic female athletes that go on to represent in the under-23 and senior teams for Great Britain.
I think you said it a little earlier, Ed, that looking at the launches on the right-hand side, and you know, part of the reason we have those booms there is to stop the wash from the launches. You might see that there's a gap which allows crews to cross over the river. You could just see the ripple of the water coming across, and that affected Headington more than Henley. You see that Henley 3 girl there, she's shouting the instructions, as she was this morning when we watched her. But don't they scull well? The coaches at Henley do a fantastic job. Not only are they, you know, they're at the top of the game physically, but look at the technical aspects of this as well.
I've said it before and I'll say it again, and Henley today are the perfect example of this. When a quad is rowed well together, they are a symphony of movement. Just those blades clicking around together. You can almost hear the control and solidarity of those crew members.
And again, it's easy to forget, Ed, that these are girls, you know, who are in year 11 or year 10, in fact, but they're year 11, they're J16s, and they are sculling with huge maturity, you know, both Headington and Henley. So it's absolute testament to their devotion to their sport, but also, you know, the coaches, and sometimes coaches don't get thanked enough, I think, and they put in hours and hours of voluntary time, and you know, both of these the coaches who are involved with these crews deserve many plaudits. It's a great shot there. Both, there's very little in it in terms of technique. Just at the moment it looks that Henley have got the greater power, but the Headington are just up their work rate and they're throwing everything in it. They don't want to leave anything in the boat.
I think that's something we'll see throughout the afternoon with all the finals that we've got coming up for you. Is even if you're in second place, you want to leave, and you want to leave everything out there on the course. You want to come in and just collapse on that landing stage, knowing that you did everything you can, even if it meant that you missed that victory by a boat length or two. But as we can see here, I think Headington are coming back on Henley in these closing stages, Greg.
Well, and you know, we got it so wrong in the last race, didn't? Well, I got it so wrong. Kent were half a length up. Marlow, that fantastic, honestly, brilliant burst.
Yeah.
But I think there we are. We've just seen it at the top right. It's Henley. Congratulations to them for winning the J16 quads.
Fantastic race there. And what I should imagine is another fantastic race coming up for you now. This is the final of the championship pairs, race number 373 of 2019 at Henley Women's Regatta, contested between Leander Club A and Cambridge University Women's Boat Club. Two clubs that I'm sure need no introduction, both famous not only in the UK but the world over. And it looks to me as if Greg, Leander have just got that early lead over Cambridge.
Yeah, Leander with Natasha Harris-White and Susanna Deer. Natasha started her rowing life at Upper Thames, and she's a tremendous athlete. Actually, she could have done rowing is just one of the sports that she could have succeeded at, but she's chosen rowing, and she's been picked up by Leander, and undoubtedly, I have no doubt that she will be wearing the GB vest again soon. But they're dominating this race. Quarter mile, it's the Leander crew of Natasha Harris-White and Susanna Deer, who have about a 2-length advantage now over the Cambridge University crew of Patricia Smith and Pippa Whitaker.
The real privilege in the last few months to be out up at their training base with Cambridge University, and just the whole squad ethos that they're able to build, especially around the boat races, is fantastic to see. And even if they can't quite at this point in the race topple the absolute might of the athletes from Leander, they're two very, very determined athletes, both winners of the boat race this year, I believe, and I'm sure they'll go on to win another boat race, or perhaps even transition into the senior rowing team with Great Britain in years to come.
Well, that's right, Ed. I mean, I think it's easy to look at that picture there and think, well, this is a bit of a one-sided match, but it just shows the quality, again, the quality of women's rowing in the UK at the moment, that we are able to produce such fine athletes, because, you know, this Cambridge University pair, you know, have had a great women's Henley. They've raced really well, and as you've just described, they've got a fantastic pedigree. But just look at this Leander pair. They're just every stroke taking the boat further and further away. So we definitely should be looking out for these two in the future.
Having said what I did about Cambridge, Leander, another crew with a fantastic ethos around what they do, very controlled, very rigorous. A lot of the athletes there on a full-time training program aiming for selection with the Great Britain squad. Cambridge, of course, having to balance their academic workload with their training for the Cambridge boats.
But you know, a great shot of the blade work there. The pair is the most difficult boat, I think, to race. And it's very tippy. You know, to try and get the balance right is very, very difficult. And that Leander pair making it look great. Look at the depth that the blades are flowing through the water. You know,
Perfect.
It's
Absolutely
perfectly
perfect.
balanced. It's just a joy to watch.
It really is. This is why we're sat here watching the rowing today. It's for races like these, where even if Cambridge can't quite topple Leander, we have two incredibly competent crews here. Leander very at home on this stretch of water, of course. Cambridge coming in from the 8 that was so successful this year at the Oxford-Cambridge boat race.
It does look at the moment as though Leander will go on to win this event, and we've got another final. It's the Championship Lightweight Double Sculls with Nottingham University on the Berkshire station. That's the one closest to the towpath, and the University of Tulsa, USA, on the Buckinghamshire station.
Of course, University of Tulsa from the USA. Again, fantastic to see foreign crew from as far away as the US in this final of the Championship Lightweight Double Sculls. As we'd expect from a lightweight combination, straight out the start, very, very quick, very accurate blade strokes. As we'd expect, a lot of this will come down to the technical maturity of the athletes in this boat. Looks like as they've just gone through the quarter-mile marker, approaching our little commentary caravan, the little white box you can see there. Tulsa just seem to be stretching that lead out as we're catching the end of our previous final, the Championship Double Sculls, with Leander just leading out over Cambridge. Of course, both crews still giving it their all. And as they come past our position now, it looks to me like Tulsa have just over a length on their opposition from Nottingham University, bringing that pedigree and that strength that the US collegiate programs breed over here to the UK.
So Nottingham got here with a length victory in the semi-final. Tough race against Princeton University, and Tulsa had a win over Upper Thames earlier this morning. So Tulsa not getting away just yet. The Nottingham University pair really putting everything into it to try and get back on terms. So Nottingham University pair, that is Jemima Price and Eva Hill. And the Tulsa, Nicole Bacchus and Meredith Galloway. And I'll be just delighted to come over here and be in the final and just, I think, probably daring themselves. Are we actually going to get close to winning this? That'd be fantastic.
Fantastic stroke style there from the Tulsa girls. In a borrowed boat there from Lady Eleanor Hollis, just showing the collaboration between the US and the UK rowing programs. You can see, I think, is that almost a smile on the face of the stroke girl in the Tulsa crew, or perhaps a grimace. Not quite sure. The camera's a little bit fuzzy.
I suspect it's the latter. I don't think she'll be smiling just yet. There's still quite some distance to go. And, you know, it's just one mistake and it could let Nottingham back into it. And these are great pictures brought to us by Unique Media TV.
Just see there, one of my favourite parts of the boat to watch, the bow of the boat. You can just see the water rising up with absolute power that these girls are laying down. You can see it in their catches, you can see it in their finishes. That from start to finish of every stroke, they're applying the power through the legs, the core, and their arms. And they won't stop doing that until they are firmly across the finish line.
So the bit of silverware to the winner here is the Haslam Trophy. And definitely, you said smile, that's definitely not a smile. That's definitely a grimace. They're really working hard, aren't they? Where is that finish line? It's got to be up there somewhere. It's got to be close. Please, let it be close.
But all that pain will be worth it if they cross the finish line first, as I suspect
There's
they
Fiona
will.
Dennis. Yeah, she's the umpire again. She's telling Tulsa, get back on side, please. You've drifted into the middle of the river and you need to be steering, as we look at it, to the right.
Looks to me like Nottingham are just overrating Tulsa now, perhaps trying to come back for a burst. But in this dominant position, Tulsa can eye up their opposition and just respond to anything they do at this late stage in the race. Fantastic again there from the Tulsa crew. Just see the power going down. Crew number 480 in this Henley Women's Regatta 2019.
Getting close to the finish now. Those tired legs. Just nearly finished.
And I think in a minute those grimaces will turn to smiles as they cross the finish line. Know that they can take home the trophy that they've flown out here to collect, take it home with their coach in tow.
And there you go.